You know those.
What's a dopamine pun?
I thought it was your don't be mean. Have some dopamine.
Don't be mean. Have some dopamine. That's really cheesy. Hey kids, don't be mean. You just need some dopamine. Can you tell I'm a byproduct of the 90s? This is dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter that's responsible for how and why we experience pleasure, what we find interesting, and our ability to think and plan. Dopamine works along the 4 major pathways in the brain. If you want to learn more about the structure and function of the brain, I've linked some information in the description. And it's responsible for regulating a whole heck of a lot of things. Movement, the perception of pain, motivation, learning, interest, and heart rate, to name a few. Dopamine, unsurprisingly, is involved in a lot of mental health. People with schizophrenia have overactive dopamine production, people with ADHD don't make quite enough, and people are more likely to become addicted to drugs if they're somebody who responds very strongly to the release of dopamine, which several drugs imitate. And this is why it's really important that our medical practices be holistic, inclusive, and take mental health seriously. In the instance of drug addiction, people who abuse drugs for a long time have a significant reduction in the amount of dopamine that their body produces. So the only way for them to get enough is to take it externally. And this is what makes withdrawal so dangerous, because dopamine is involved in regulating so many life-sustaining processes. Dopamine is involved in several physical disorders as well. Parkinson's disease, for example, is caused when the body no longer makes sufficient amounts of dopamine to properly control the muscles, which is what causes the shaking most commonly associated with the disorder. Obesity is also affected by dopamine because in certain individuals, they overeat or they eat too much even though they're full because their dopamine is not being sufficiently produced or not having enough of an effect, and this can cause them to overeat and gain weight. Now, it's important to eat healthy and to exercise, but you should be doing those things to feel good, not to achieve a certain size. Fat phobia is a very real and prominent issue, particularly in the medical community, where doctors will often overlook serious illnesses by telling their patients to just lose weight. If only it were that simple. If there's a science topic you'd like to know more about, then comment below or reach out to us on social media. In the description of this video is some additional reading material because it's very important that you always do your own research and come to evidence-backed conclusions. If you're able to, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll get to see these videos before anyone else and you'll get to see all the bloopers. Stay safe, be kind to each other, and remember, there's no room for shame when growing your brain.